Am I the a-hole for cleaning my sister's house after her husband refused to help with the twins? My sister, 39F, just had twins 2 weeks ago via C-section. If you've ever been around someone recovering from a C-section, you know it's basically a major abdominal surgery. It isn't just giving birth. It is having your midsection sliced open, your organs shifted around, and then being expected to keep two tiny humans alive while your body tries to knit itself back together. She's exhausted, sore, still bleeding, and trying to figure out life with two newborns who seem to have coordinated their crying schedules to ensure she never sleeps more than 45 minutes at a time. Her husband, 32M, has been less than helpful. That's the polite way to put it. The realistic way to put it is that he's been a total anchor dragging her down. He keeps telling her that since his job is too hard and busy, she needs to handle everything at home: cleaning, laundry, cooking, and of course taking care of two babies. She called me crying one night because she was overwhelmed. It was one of those phone calls where she could barely get the words out between sobs. I could hear the twins screaming in the background, that high-pitched, rhythmic twin wail that vibrates in your skull. She told me she felt like she was failing. She said the house was falling apart. She hadn't showered in 3 days, and she was terrified she was going to trip over a pile of laundry while holding one of the babies because her incision hurt so much she couldn't see straight. I went over the next day. Now, I didn't go to hold babies or play fun aunt. I know a lot of people do that. They show up, hold the sleeping baby for a photo, drink a cup of coffee the new mom made for them, and then leave when the baby starts blowing out a diaper. I didn't want to be that person. I know my sister. She is a high-functioning, organized person who cannot stand clutter or mess. In her normal life, her house is pristine. Seeing it in the state it was clearly stressing her out on top of everything else. It wasn't just lived in messy. It was we are drowning messy. When I walked in, the smell hit me first. Not a bad smell, just the smell of stale air, spilled formula, and overflowing diaper pails. There were crusty dishes on every flat surface. Piles of mail were mixed with half-empty bottles and discarded nursing pads. The living room floor was a minefield of baby gear, discarded blankets, and dog hair. I looked at my sister. She was sitting on the edge of the sofa, clutching a pillow to her stomach to support her incision, looking like a ghost of herself. Her hair was matted at the back, and her eyes were bloodshot. I didn't even ask what she needed. I just put my bag down, rolled up my sleeves, and got to work. I started in the kitchen. I cleared the counters first, tossing the trash and stacking the mountain of dishes by the sink. I scrubbed the dried-on food off the plates, loaded the dishwasher, and got a cycle started. Then I moved to the laundry. There were baskets of clean clothes that had been sitting there so long they were wrinkled and covered in dust, and 3 times as many baskets of dirty laundry. I started the washer, and then spent 2 hours just folding. I organized the nursery, which had become a dumping ground for gifts that hadn't been put away. I wiped down the counters with lemon-scented cleaner because I knew that scent always made her feel like things were under control. I vacuumed the entire downstairs, moving carefully around her so I didn't stir up too much dust near her chair. I even prepped a couple of meals for her, nothing fancy, just some high-protein casseroles and pre-cut fruit she could grab with one hand while nursing. I told her not to worry about lifting a finger. I told her that for today, her only job was to heal and feed those babies. She cried again, this time from gratitude. It wasn't the "I'm falling apart" cry from the night before. It was a quiet, relieved release. She kept saying how much it helped her mental health just to have a clean space while she heals. She told me that every time she looked at the dirty dishes over the last few days, she felt like she was losing a war. Having the counters clear made her feel like she could actually breathe. I stayed for about 6 hours. By the time I was finishing up the last of the meal prep, I felt good. I felt like I had actually supported my sister in a way that mattered. Here's the problem. Her husband came home and was livid. He walked through the door and didn't even say hello to his wife or look at his children. He looked at the gleaming counters. He looked at the folded laundry. He looked at me, standing there with an apron on, putting a tray of lasagna in the oven. He wasn't mad at me, but he was absolutely livid at her. He didn't pull her aside. He started right there in the kitchen. He accused her of making him look bad because I came over and did everything he thinks she should be doing. He was gesturing wildly at the dishwasher and the vacuum. He literally said to her, "She's the mom, not you. You're just acting like a maid." I was stunned. I tried to interject, telling him that I wanted to do it, that it was my choice to help my sister. But he didn't want to hear it. He kept saying that by me doing the housework, I was proving to the world that she was incapable of handling her own home. He felt that my presence was a silent indictment of his leadership or whatever weird traditionalist complex he is going on. For the record, my sister didn't even ask me to do all that. I did it because I could see she needed help. She's too proud to ask usually, which is why she only called me when she was at a total breaking point. She defended me, bless her. She stood up. Well, she tried to stand up, but winced and had to sit back down, and told him she's still healing. She reminded him that her doctors literally told her not to lift heavy things, not to do stairs repeatedly, and not to overexert herself yet because she could literally tear her internal stitches. He brushed it off. He actually waved a hand at her like she was exaggerating and doubled down that she should suck it up because everyone else manages. He brought up his mother and his grandmother, talking about how women used to give birth in fields and go back to work the next day, as if that was a standard we should be aiming for in 2026. I ended up leaving shortly after because the atmosphere was so toxic, I felt like I was suffocating. I didn't want to cause a bigger fight while she was in such a vulnerable state. Now there's tension in their house. My sister keeps texting me, thanking me for the meals and the clean laundry, telling me that the lasagna was the first real food she's eaten in days. But she also told me her husband's being icy with her. He's walking around the house making snide comments every time he sees something I did. If he needs a clean towel, he'll say, "Oh, let me see if your maid put these away correctly." If she asks him to help with a diaper change while she's nursing the other twin, he'll say, "Don't worry, I'm sure your maid will handle it when she comes back to do your job for you." I feel awful because the last thing I wanted to do was make things worse for her. I thought I was clearing a path for her to recover, but it feels like I just gave him more ammunition to use against her. My parents are telling me to stay out of it and let them work through their marriage, but it's hard to watch someone I love be treated like a lazy employee when she's actually a recovering surgical patient. Am I the a-hole for acting like a maid at my sister's house after she gave birth? Update. Hi everyone, thanks for all the comments on my original post. A few days have passed and things escalated quickly. The next day after I posted, I packed up my sister and the twins and moved them into my house. She's now staying in my master bedroom, so she has space, privacy, and an ensuite, and I moved into my guest room. Honestly, I didn't even give her husband a warning. I just showed up at their house with storage bins, overnight bags, a portable bassinet, and enough baby supplies to survive a small apocalypse. My sister looked exhausted. Not normal, new mom tired exhausted either. She looked pale, shaky, and emotionally checked out. Her husband was sitting on the couch when I arrived, scrolling on his phone while one baby cried in a swing beside him and the other screamed from the bedroom. My sister was trying to shuffle between both babies while also attempting to fold laundry, because apparently he had complained there were no clean towels left. I walked in, took the laundry basket out of her hands, and told her to pack. He looked confused and asked where she was going. I told him somewhere she could recover in peace. Then this man actually had the nerve to say, "So now you're kidnapping my wife?" I ignored him completely and started helping my sister gather the baby's things. Diapers, wipes, bottles, medications, her post-op care supplies, breast pumps, all of it. He followed us around the house complaining the entire time about how dramatic we were being. At one point, he asked my sister how long she planned on running away instead of acting like a mother. That sentence alone almost sent me to prison. My sister started crying while buckling one of the twins into the car seat because she said she wasn't trying to run away, she just wanted help for a few days so she could heal. He rolled his eyes. Actually rolled his eyes at a woman less than 3 weeks out from major surgery while she held his child. I finally snapped and asked him when exactly he planned on becoming a parent instead of acting like a visiting relative in his own house. He didn't answer. He just muttered something about how he works long shifts and shouldn't have to come home to more stress. Meanwhile, my sister hadn't slept longer than an hour and a half straight since giving birth. So yes, we left. The second we got to my house, the atmosphere completely changed. My sister took a shower without rushing for the first time in days while I watched the twins. Then she ate an actual meal while sitting down instead of trying to balance a baby in one arm and cold toast in the other. That night, she slept for almost 5 uninterrupted hours while I handled feedings with pumped milk and formula. When she woke up the next morning, she looked more human than she had in weeks. Now, about her husband. He's a doctor, which makes it even worse that he's been acting like her C-section recovery is no big deal. So yesterday, I went down to his hospital. And before anyone asks, no, I did not storm into an operating room like some reality TV villain. I simply showed up during visiting hours with coffee and a very loud voice. I started chatting with one of the receptionists while waiting in the lobby and casually mentioned how impressed I was that the hospital teaches patients to rest after abdominal surgery because apparently one of their doctors believes his wife should mop floors while recovering from one. That opened the floodgates immediately. A nurse nearby asked what happened, and honestly, once someone asks me a question, I answer it. I explained everything. The cleaning, the cooking, the laundry, the comments about her needing to suck it up, the fact she was still bleeding and struggling to stand comfortably while he expected her to maintain the entire household with newborn twins. I never yelled. I never cursed. I just spoke at a volume where everyone around us could hear. Several nurses looked horrified. One older receptionist literally stopped typing and went, "Wait, his wife just had twins?" Apparently word travels very fast in hospitals because by the time I left, multiple people were side-eyeing him every time he walked past. One nurse told me quietly that if he had treated one of his patients that way after surgery, there would probably be complaints filed. Another said, "Funny how some doctors suddenly stop believing in recovery time when it's their wives." I wish I could say I felt guilty, but honestly I didn't. If he was comfortable humiliating my sister in private, then he could survive a little embarrassment in public. Apparently things got awkward for him very quickly, because less than an hour later my sister got a text from him asking why his coworkers were asking if she was okay. She ignored him. After that, I called his mother. For context, she and I are extremely close. She's one of those women who tells you exactly what she thinks, whether you're ready to hear it or not. When my sister married her son, she told her, "If he ever acts stupid, tell me first so I can humble him before you divorce him." At the time we laughed. Turns out she was serious. I called her and explained everything from start to finish. Not just the recent stuff either. I told her about the comments he made during the pregnancy, how little he helped once the twins arrived, and how my sister cried because she physically couldn't keep up with what he expected from her. There was a long silence on the phone after I finished. Then she asked one question. Did my son really say she should scrub floors after surgery? I said yes. She hung up immediately. About 2 hours later, she called me back from my brother-in-law's house. I could hear her yelling through the phone before she even spoke directly to me. Apparently, she drove straight there, walked into the house, looked around at the dirty bottles and laundry everywhere, and absolutely unloaded on him. She told him he should be ashamed of himself for treating the mother of his children like unpaid labor instead of a recovering patient and partner. She also informed him that his own father took 2 weeks off work when she gave birth because that's what decent men do. According to her, he tried defending himself by saying he was stressed and overwhelmed too. She told him welcome to parenthood. Then she apparently started cleaning his kitchen aggressively while insulting him in 3 languages. I genuinely adore that woman. And I didn't stop there. With my parents' help, I told the rest of the family too. Close relatives, extended family, cousins, everybody. Now, before anyone says I should have stayed out of their marriage, let me clarify something. My sister was covering for him. Even while crying to me on the phone, she kept minimizing things. Saying he was tired, saying he didn't mean it, saying he was just adjusting badly. Meanwhile, she was trying to carry laundry baskets with stitches still healing inside her abdomen. So yes, I told people. Not random strangers online style telling. Actual family members who know them personally. And once everyone knew, suddenly the calls started flooding in. His aunt called him selfish. His older cousin, who has 4 kids, apparently laughed in his face and asked if he thought babies raise themselves. One of our uncles told him he was behaving like a bachelor with roommates instead of a husband with children. Even his own father called him and told him if he didn't get his act together, he was going to lose his wife. Meanwhile, my house has basically become a newborn boot camp. The twins are actually pretty good babies overall, just exhausting because there are 2 of them. One likes sleeping during the day and screaming at night, while the other seems personally offended anytime someone changes his diaper. My sister is slowly recovering physically, but emotionally, she's still fragile. A few nights ago, she admitted she had started feeling like a failure because she physically couldn't do everything her husband expected. She thought maybe other moms handled it better, and she was just weak. That made me furious all over again because this woman carried twins at 39 years old, underwent surgery, and immediately got thrown into survival mode with almost no support at home. No wonder she felt broken. Yesterday, her husband came by my house for the first time since she left. He looked rough, honestly. Exhausted, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes. Apparently living alone for 4 days in the mess he ignored while expecting my sister to manage it all gave him a reality check. He brought food, flowers, diapers, and one of those giant postpartum recovery kits the hospital usually sends home with patients. My sister let him inside, but barely spoke to him at first. Then one of the twins started crying. This man picked up his own child and immediately panicked because he couldn't calm him down within 30 seconds. My sister just stared at him. Finally, she said, very calmly, "Imagine doing this all day while recovering from surgery." He didn't even argue. For the first time since all this started, he actually looked embarrassed instead of defensive. He apologized to her. A real apology too, not one of those, "I'm sorry you feel that way" ones. He admitted he underestimated how difficult recovery would be and said he convinced himself that because women do this every day, it couldn't be that bad. My sister asked him if he would tell one of his own patients to vacuum and scrub bathrooms 2 weeks after surgery. He said no. Then she asked why he thought it was acceptable for her. He didn't have an answer. They talked privately for almost an hour while I sat in the kitchen pretending not to eavesdrop while absolutely eavesdropping. From what I gathered, they're considering counseling because apparently this whole situation exposed a lot more issues than just housework. Before he left, he cleaned my entire kitchen without being asked. Honestly, I nearly fainted from shock. Now my sister is still staying with me for the time being because she doesn't fully trust that things will magically improve overnight, and I don't blame her. As for me, apparently I'm now the scary sister-in-law in his family, which I wear like a badge of honor. And yes, I know what I did was a total bitch move, but sometimes two negatives make a positive. It even says so in math. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Daily Tales Update.